Hey, happy Friday, everybody. This is Wanda from Fox Hollow Peonies up in Alaska, coming to you with our Fox Hollow Fridays video. Hope you had a great week, and hey, we survived another week, so I'm glad for that. I've been coming out here on Fridays and just telling you a little bit about our farm. Today it's 40 degrees and cloudy here, and I keep a farm journal every year. And notice in my farm journal about the weather that last year at this time our whole peony field was completely clear of snow. And you can see right here that that is not the case this year. It's always amazing how our weather can be so different from year to year. Last year our driveway was clear. In my notes I have that it was clear in March, middle of March, and the snow just melted off of it this week. So that affects our peony harvest, of course. Usually we harvest in July, but last year with that early spring, we started harvesting at about June 18th, which was really, really early for us. So I'm glad that our spring is a little bit later this year so we can hopefully harvest at our normal time in July. So I've been talking a little bit about the history of our farm, Fox Hollow, and talked about how in 2007, I think it was, a forest fire came up the highway and burned the woods around our house, and it burned this big, huge area, which used to be a birch forest. And I talked about how we used the wood for several years and then had a big field in need of a mission. And we figured out that mission, which was to plant peonies. If you missed the first couple videos that talks about that in more detail, go ahead and check those out. They're on my Facebook page and on our Instagram page as well. So I was going to talk today about how our farm got its name, Fox Hollow. When we were building this house, our house in about 2004, 2005, we started in the spring having these little baby foxes come up out of the woods, and they would be romping around the house while my husband and his crew were framing in the house. And we soon discovered that there was a fox den at the end of the bluff. So there's the bluff right there, and it kind of drops down into the big meadow where the fire burned through. There's a little fox den right down there on the edge of the bluff. And we discovered that there was a fox den there. So we enjoyed those foxes for several years. That was before the woods burned. And like the babies would come up into our yard here, and we'd see the mom or the daddy trotting through our yard from time to time with a rabbit or something in their mouth. So when we came around to naming our farm, we decided to name it Fox Hollow, because of our little fox family that has lived here for all these years. It's really fun to watch them and enjoy them. The babies are not very shy at all, and they will come up into the field, and they're very curious. So they will come up into the field and start romping around, and even when we're down there working. And of course, either the mom or the daddy will sit out there by the den, and if they feel like they're getting too close to us, they'll yip at them, and the babies will just come scurrying right back and go down into one of the foxholes over there. Also, foxes, of course, are very smart, and they figured out that they can drink water from our irrigation emitters. And so in the summertime, the mom and dad will sit out there by their den and wait for me to come down to water the field. And they know I do it about the same time every morning. So I'll turn the irrigation on, and then they'll start trotting down the aisles and finally figure it out which section I am watering from. And they and the babies will all crouch down and lap water up from the emitters. So I think that's pretty amazing that they have figured that out. Also, last summer, several of us were out working in the field, and the mama comes trotting down the pathway between the field and the woods, and she's got something big and white in her mouth, and it didn't look like a rabbit. Normally they have a rabbit, and they go hunting across the highway from our house. I'm not sure, it must be better hunting over there, but they'll go hunting over there every morning, and we'll see the mom or the dad trotting back with a rabbit usually in their mouth. Well, this time she had something white. We started walking towards her to kind of get a better view, and she got startled and dropped it and trotted into the woods. So we went over and looked at it, and here it was, a big Ziploc baggie full of frozen halibut, which is a fish that a lot of people go fishing for up here on the weekends. So we were kind of laughing because we think that somebody across the highway set this bag of halibut out on their back porch to thaw out for the day, and Mama Fox discovered it, and we were thinking they're going to go out later in the day to get their bag of halibut for dinner, and it wasn't going to be there. So we just left it laying there, and later in the evening I went out there to do something. I noticed it was gone. So she came and got it, and her family had some delicious Alaska halibut for dinner that night. So we've enjoyed our Fox family a lot. Like I said, we get to sit up here on our back deck and watch them. And they'll come out every evening and just romp around that end of the peony field, and they play chase. I did have a video of the group last year. They had quite a large number of babies last year. And so that's posted on my Facebook page and in the videos if anybody wants to go watch that. They're really fun to watch. So there's a little verse tucked in the Bible that Milt and I like to use to describe our farm. And the little verse says that he will give you beauty for ashes. And I talked last week about how sometimes bad situations can actually lead to some good things, which we feel happened with our farm here. A bad situation of a forest fire turned into beauty of a peony field. And that verse is in Isaiah chapter 60. And the book of Isaiah was written to the Jews who had become corrupt and were, partying and following after idols and doing all kinds of bad things. So the prophet Isaiah was warning them that if they didn't straighten up, God was going to take them into captivity to another country nearby. But at the end of Isaiah, he says, but God is eventually going to rescue you, and he's going to bring you out of captivity. And this one verse says, for those of you who are grieving, he will give you beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that you might be oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord. And I just love that verse because I think it applies to us so many times in our life. When we have tough times we go through, we're mourning or grieving, but God is always there to comfort us, to give us beauty for the ashes, oil of joy for our mourning, a garment of praise for the heaviness that we might experience. And oaks are one of the strongest trees that there is in the world. And a lot of times in the Bible, it refers to us as oaks, because I think that it means when we're standing in God, standing in the Lord, that we're strong. So I want to encourage you today with those words, whatever you're going through. I know this week was hard for me. I'm really tired of being in the house. In Alaska, we have something called cabin fever, which is something you get after many months of being in your cabin and you're just tired of being cooped up. And I think we're all experiencing that to a bigger degree this year. So I was getting really, really tired of being in the house and kind of feeling heavy, just that spirit of heaviness. And I turned some Christian music on and just really felt my soul uplifted, and reminding myself that this captivity that we are in right now is going to end, and that God's going to give us beauty for the ashes, and he can give us joy and a spirit of praise. And so I hope that encourages you today. Next week I'll come back. I want to talk about our first couple years of farming, moving from a garden grower of flowers to a farmer is a big learning curve, because I went from a little small garden in my backyard to this big field of now 5,000 plants. So I'll be talking a little bit about some of our experiences in the first few years, and some of our mistakes and the things that we learned in our first few years of growing. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here next week.